It was a steady barrage of bullshit thrown at me. In less than a minute's time, I was committed all in, shoving my time, talent, reputation, and even my life to the middle, in what truly feels like a high-stakes, no-limit game of Texas Hold'em poker. A strong message hurled right back at a clearly broken system, a system designed to be comprised of the highest integrity and fairness, the last preventative stop block, and the way keeping good from being completely overtaken by evil. In a moment's notice, I made an extremely bold, pivotal move demonstrating defiance in the absence of fear, while bolstering confidence in the presence of conviction. A complete refusal to back down, and a refusal to negotiate. Way too much has been lost over the past few years, quite frankly extorted and stolen from me. That number continues to climb, and no end is in sight. The only remedy, the only option left, was to fight with all my dedication and might, especially when intentional attacks against me worsened, simply for defending myself, gathering evidence of wrongdoing, and asking the right questions, while continuing to be in the right place at the right time. These people have known exactly what they were doing the entire time, and I don't doubt that for a second. The manipulation and destruction of our long-standing Constitution is downright repugnant and offensive. The society as a whole haven't stepped up and banded together by force and numbers to prevent further damage. After all, in December of 2007, I swore an oath to my country that I would support, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I would bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that I would obey all orders of the President of the United States. The sworn oath I took had no expiration date. It's gravely concerning that the state government has refused to provide oversight over its agencies and its courts, denying a citizen, a Marine Corps veteran, the equal protections under the laws that govern and always have governed our nation as a whole. Am I the only one out there that truly grasps the frightening reality of everything that's happening? The fact that if they would go to all these extents, expending the money, time, and effort to attack, destroy, and suppress a USMC veteran, that nobody is no longer truly safe and protected. A corrupt, entitled, and demanding chunk of the population, whom I have no doubt would easily crash our economy and install a totalitarian-style government in record-breaking time. That's where fellow patriots, veterans, 3%ers, oath keepers, and militias come into play. America's insurance policy. The past 3 years have been an absolute nightmare that I've been unable to wake up from. Up until I witnessed everything firsthand myself, I'd always believed the most sinister public corruption scandals and organized crime were reserved for those well-known, politicians, or the rich and famous. The past 3 years of my life, however, have produced some of the most shocking of occurrences. Absolute incredible amounts of organized crime, racketeering, extortion, public corruption, deprivation of rights, legal interference, custodial interference, conspiracy, contempt, more contempt, even systemic organized kidnapping make up this extreme hell of a nightmare that's been my life. I now find myself in 5 ongoing court battles, of which include 2 Supreme Court appeals and a $10 million federal lawsuit filed December 11, 2020 against the city of Olive Branch in the state of Mississippi. That number of ongoing concurrent court battles could easily double at any time. The end is nowhere in sight, if it even ever comes. It gives off all feelings of a modern-day David versus Goliath, especially when taking into consideration that I'm still standing on my 2 feet against the state government and its obstructionist agencies without so much as an attorney representing me, yet having concrete evidence in a refusal to back down. I've learned to trust my gut, never back down when it comes to an issue of conviction and surety, especially when everything's on the line after everything else was lost due to the dramatic, life-changing impact caused by their malice hands. This is a level of evil intricacy that exceeds that of any John Grisham book I've ever read. And that is a bit intimidating when I begin to piece every puzzle piece to this criminal racket undoubtedly controlled by deep state involvement. The media is refusing to cover it, despite all undoubtable evidence, so they clearly are controlled. I've got a long, lengthy list of every outlet that regularly looks at the new evidence and new court filings, yet refuse to cover it, showing complicity in the massive fraud currently ongoing by ways of suppression. The FBI has refused to cooperate in complying with a FOIA, Freedom of Information Act request, which was submitted in April of 2020 requesting the 302 investigative report, or any report for that matter, which would have been generated May 25, 2017, when I had sat down with two agents at the field office in Oxford, Mississippi at the recommendation and advisement of an assistant U.S. attorney, Bob Norman, whom you'll commonly hear me refer to throughout Riding with the Outlaw as Blowhard Bob. What's even more alarming is the fact that the public information officer for the FBI actually just admitted via email that they could not locate the report generated by me sitting down with two FBI agents on May 25, 2017, the day before I was ambushed on the square in Oxford, Mississippi. Of course, they claim the video evidence would have been erased by now, but that's only the start of this complete insanity. On May 24, 2017, Assistant U.S. Attorney Bob Norman had recommended that I sit down with the FBI due to a death threat I received, as well as who would become the soon-to-be incoming Mayor Robin Tannehill and her husband Ray taking out a cheap shot bullshit injunction on me on the 22nd of May, which barred me from a pre-scheduled speaking engagement at City Hall on June 6, 2017, coincidentally the day of the mayor's election. Now, when adding in the evidence hidden or destroyed by the Sheriff's Department and sealed by the county attorney in regards to the May 24, 2017 phone call received by Jared Bundren, which by their own admission stemmed the warrant, what you have is a complete shit show full of dereliction from agencies and the government clearly scrambling to cover their own tracks. All of everything stemming from the extreme liability the state decided to load itself up on due to an insanely crazy witch hunt that stretched out for 3 years. Oh, by the way, 3 weeks from now will mark 1 year not seeing my 6-year-old daughter Lydia, in retaliation by her mother, Liz Crowder, getting caught up in a nasty rabbit hole conspiracy and a failed attempt to falsely frame me for rape at the end of 2018. I'm retaliated against due to her being picked up on a year-old warrant for the crime of making a false report of rape. It would appear in the reality of some that they feel entitled to report false crimes, destroy lives, separate families, and manipulate courts and judges through an inter-networking channel of attorneys using pay-for-play as their get-out-of-jail-free card. The crazy part here was that while I was the victim in the crime, it was the Olive Branch Police Department that charged her with the crime and pursued her, not me. In my opinion, they really misfired on this one, shooting from the hip, because a misdemeanor making false report charge is nowhere near appropriate when it comes to someone falsely claiming another raped them. All in all, it was an insult to have given up freedoms and liberties just to prove she was lying and had indeed planned this out. I feel cheated in a big way for the real crime to not be charged, criminal conspiracy, especially after she admitted on a recorded call that her husband played a big part in everything. I also had hoped that we as a society would have moved past the Me Too, vagina hat wearing, feminazi era after the successful appointment of Justice Brett Kavanaugh to the United States Supreme Court when he prevailed against his false accusers. I'm speaking from first-hand knowledge as a victim to it, that it is no doubt one of the biggest stains on American freedoms and values, along with being one of the biggest drains and scams in society, only to be topped by the 2020 election, COVID-19, Hillary Rodham Clinton, and Barack Hussein Obama. I believe someone who falsely reports a serious sex crime such as that or molestation should be sentenced worse than the crime they falsely accuse. Otherwise, there's no true deterrent to put an end to it, and the credibility of true victims is forever dwindled down, making them fear coming forward.
Sheriff's Department.
Hey, is Joey there? Hey, Joey.
Hey,
It's Matt Reardon.
what's going on?
Oh, not much. Following up with you on this, on the public record request that I'd brought to your attention that had gone unfulfilled, that my wife had submitted.
Yeah, I don't know. It's been out of our office. It was gone that day you asked me about it. I come checked on it. It's back over there at the Chancery building with the clerk.
Really?
Yeah.
So so it's Lisa?
Yeah, her office, a lot of times she's covered up, so, and then she sends that stuff sometimes to the attorney to look at, but yeah, all of our end has been sent to her.
Okay.
Her office. Maybe not necessarily her, but her office.
Well, it certainly sounds like they're dropping the ball there. If y'all are complying on time, there's definitely no need in them shooting past the deadline, especially after I followed up on it.
Well, ours is that day you asked about it. I checked up on it, so I don't know what's going on there. I know she was out of town for several days, so it may have been a time.
Okay, all right. Hey, two things real quickly. So, what about, I came up there, I think on like the 20th, about, and you pulled up right there at the end part, but I was trying to get to the bottom of like what Alan Wilburn had said to the Oxford Eagle, and I'd spoken to you about that like a day or two prior. He said that that they had put that in a file and they no longer look back at it, but I think that when it comes to a statement made in fact under color of law about somebody that to a news source, that that's definitely something it's not to be taken lightly. Especially if the word allegedly is the key word there, and him not using it, and more so having no remorse, and even attacking me back, calling me a liar when I was simply trying to get to the bottom of this. And it certainly, I would hope that, is there something that you can do about that? Because that directly that reflects poorly on the sheriff's department.
What part?
What do you mean?
What do you ask me about? What he made to the paper?
Yeah. So basically, the burden of proof, the burden of liability there falls back on him, because now me raising this, he has to ultimately prove that what he said was in fact the truth. It was backed by fact. The burden shifts on that, because I'm saying that
When you were arrested, you talking about when you were arrested 4 years ago? 5?
No, it's 3. It was May. It was May 20. It was May 26, 2017.
That article you showed me where he made a comment to the paper.
Yeah, he made the comment on May 30th to the paper whenever the bond hearing. After the bond hearing where I was given a $150,000 bond, and my assumption on that was it's an extremely astronomical, unjustifiable really bond, and so that helped to bring it more justifiable. And B, I feel like it was a direct attack on me to help divide the people that stood behind me, to turn them away.
I understand. That was 3 years ago when I've changed that process. So we send emails now. I'm the only one that speaks to the paper.
I understand, but you have to understand that millions of splinters were sent through this area, and a lot of people relied heavily on that article.
I don't, maybe so. I'm not really sure, but I guess that's where you and your attorney, though, will bring that out.
Well, my attorney's a piece of shit, you know that. What? And one other quick question I had for you. What about if you remember, thinking back right before my arrest, I think it might have been the 24th, or it was probably the 24th or the 23rd of May. I know it's a good while back, but you had reached out to me several times, and you remember we had played phone tag back and forth. I would stay on the phone for like a minute, and I wasn't sure what exactly you were calling about, but I didn't trust the system already, and there were several statements made. I know Todd Lynch. If you look at the homepage of MattReardon.com, I've got the October surprise posted there. It's it's a 90-minute special that I released last night. Pretty good release, and it had some just crazy evidence in there of Todd Lynch. But what would and then the restraining order filing by Ray Tannehill, it said that numerous complaints were called into Oxford Police Department, that I was a dangerous person, and of course you were the police chief and you had reached out to me a few times in the days prior to my arrest. What was that about? Did you receive some kind of complaint or something?
Man, I'd have to go back and look. All I remember, you were causing some, people were concerned about you walking around with a loaded AR-15 was the biggest thing I can.
But that was the day before. That was the day before my arrest. That was May 25th. That was the day before my arrest. I didn't walk around with it prior to that.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. I'd have to go back. I don't know, man. You were from several incidents. I can't recall offhand. I'd have to go back and look at it.
I mean, I don't think my behavior was any more erratic than what Todd Lynch's was.
I don't know that I had any calls with Todd Lynch.
Well, I mean, you got to look at it was two different sides of the political spectrum. I mean, conservatives aren't really known for calling in complaints on liberals, like liberals being known for calling in complaints on conservatives. I mean, that's just a political divide right there.
Yeah, well, I take your word on that one.
Do what?
Look, call me back or come by and see me. I got somebody sitting in my office here right now.
All right, Jay.
All right.
Bye.
That doesn't really prove anything, but other than us as a community, we do need to get together and try to figure out our problem resolution here, because Matt Reardon is a danger to our society, and he's going to be a problem. Mark my words.